Hello and welcome. Today we will discuss strategies to staying fit while working from home. Our presenters are Washington Hospital's Director of Washington Outpatient Rehabilitation Center, Sharmi Muhkerjee, and Occupational Therapist Mark Neves. Without further ado, please welcome Sharmi Muhkerjee and Mark Neves.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharmi Muhkerjee, Director, Outpatient Therapy Department for Washington Hospital. The reason we are here is we want to provide some education to our audience. COVID-19 has changed all our lives significantly in a lot of ways, and looks like working from home is something that is definitely affecting a lot of people, especially living in the Bay Area. So we thought it would be nice to actually come up with some basic tips that we can provide our audience to make some changes so they don't have to suffer with hips, back, knee pain. We've been noticing that a lot of our friends, family, and patients are actually complaining of more upper back, neck, elbow, shoulder pain due to poor posture from their home office. I have Mark Neves with us over here, who's our occupational therapist, and he's actually a certified ergonomic specialist who is going to provide some tips to better your office environment. Having said that, we would love to see you in our clinic, but if all fails, make sure you at least try to use these tips. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Sharmi. Yes, as she was saying, in the clinic these days we are seeing a heightened rise in repetitive strain injuries. So for that reason, we wanted to bring you a few tips that hopefully can help you with your home office. If you take away two things tonight, I'd like you to remember two rules. The first is a 20-20-20 rule, and the second is a 90-90-90 rule. So the first rule, the 20-20-20 rule, is going to help you reduce eye strain as well as strain on your neck and shoulder muscles. So always very important. As Sharmi mentioned, we're seeing a lot of people complaining about those neck injuries and repetitive strain just because of lack of ergonomics in their home office. So the 20-20-20 would mean every 20 minutes of working at your computer, you want to look a distance of 20 feet away from your computer for at least 20 seconds. And I like to throw in there that you should take some nice, deep diaphragmatic breaths, and that can help relax the muscles of your neck. If you do that, you will likely notice a reduced strain on your eyes, which is a problem, as well as your neck, shoulders, and upper back. The second rule I'd like you to remember is 90-90-90. For that, I'm going to use the chair behind me. If you can recall, 90-90-90 would be your elbows, your hips, and your knees. So if you can keep all of those at right angles, you're going to reduce a lot of strain on your lower back, hips, elbows, and forearms, as well as your knees and ankles. So for that, I'm going to turn just slightly so you can see a little bit better. When you're seated at your workstation at home, if you don't have an adjustable chair or adjustable worktop like you would maybe have at your office, you can use things around your home to at least improve your environment. So for that, for example, this fixed chair, I can't adjust. But what I can do, because I'm a little bit taller and this chair happens to be low for me, is I could use a seat cushion to elevate my hips, get those to 90 degrees. That way my core is in a good position. At that point, I would be better off to be at 90 degrees with my knees. And then for your upper body, where your keyboard would be a good fit, is to have your shoulders relaxed. From that point, bend your elbows to 90 degrees. And then whatever household item you can find, like a flat, firm cushion, using peripheral equipment if possible, so a Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse, you would have those sit at that level, and that's going to reduce strain on your shoulders and neck. A lot of people we're finding are using their countertops or their kitchen tables, and what that causes is they're going to have to hike their arm up to get to that level, and then they feel the strain in their neck and shoulder. So if you can maintain 90 at the elbows, 90 at the hips, and 90 at the knees, that's perfect. If you have the opposite problem where your chair happens to be too high for you, what you can do is elevate your feet by using either a footstool or books that you may have that you could put under so that you get that 90 degrees there. If you can maintain those two rules, you'll likely see a reduction in the strain in your body. Some other options, if you have the means or in the space, is to get a sit-to-stand desk, which is very common and not too difficult to obtain. Or at some stores like Bed Bath & Beyond or Target, they have mounts that you can put on the wall that will aid you in standing location. And if you're standing, that puts a lot less stress on your hips and lower body. You just have to maintain the 90 degrees at your elbows while you do that.
Mark, what do you think about like a lap tray? Is that a good idea to like sit on your bed with it, around you?
Seated at the bed is difficult just because of maintaining the 90 at your hips, but the tray is fantastic because any kind of solid surface that you can get your elbows at 90, you're going to reduce a lot of strain on your upper body and neck. So 20, 20, 20, and 90, 90, 90, and at least you'll be hopefully not seeing us in the clinic anytime soon.
Although we would love to see you though. Moving on, we also wanted to showcase some basic exercises that you all can do at home during your workouts, post-workouts, post-run, and using body weight if you don't have the equipment. So we just wanted to give you certain tips and basic exercise demos so you can do this at home, hopefully without hurting yourself. And that's the point of the demo. We want to make sure you have the technique nailed so you can actually practice these exercises at home. So Mark is going to do some upper body core while I'm going to do some lower body, and then we'll end the session with some basic stretches. So I'm going to leave the floor with Mark.
All right, here we go. So again, being an upper body specialist at the clinic, I'm very concerned with your core muscles as well as your arms. So I'm going to run through 4 exercises that you can do very easily at home with anything that you have laying around, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the first thing we're going to do is focus on your core, because that's the center of all extremity exercises. So we're going to go down to the floor for this. As we do it, I'm going to demonstrate a natural plank, and Sharmi's going to do a modified plank, so you could see 2 different ways to vary the exercise depending on where you are with your conditioning level right now. So for the regular plank, what I want to do is make sure that my hands are directly below my shoulders and just slightly out wider. I'm going to get up into a push-up position. My ankles will be above my toes. I'm going to tighten my core. I'm sucking my belly button up towards my spine, and then I'm going to hold that while I take some nice deep breaths. The longer you can hold comfortably in that position, the better. If you find that you're losing your form, I'd suggest that you stop and regroup. Now Sharmi's going to demonstrate a modified plank where that will take some strain off of your back, allow you to put a little bit more leverage, and hold for a little bit longer. She too is going to hold for several deep breaths, maintaining good form and good core engagement.
Another modification, knees bent.
And as she brings her knees bent, she's reducing the strain on her spine, and that'll allow her to, again, hold a proper position. And again, if you at home are not used to doing this, I would recommend starting with the modified, and as you get stronger, graduate to a little bit of more of a natural plank. Mm-hmm. Second, we're going to do a push-up. So now that you've already gotten into that push-up form, you've tightened and engaged your core. Again, hands below the shoulders is always important. Some mistakes are getting your hands too wide or too far in front, and that's when we see you in the clinic with more shoulder injury. So again, right below the shoulders, slightly wider, ankles above the toes, and from that position, I'm going to drop straight down, nice and slow, keeping my core engaged, hold, and then rise. Drop, and rise. The entire time I'm doing my push-up, I'm keeping my core tight so I don't hurt my back. And then I'm only going down into a depressed position as far as I feel comfortable. If you have any history of shoulder injury, you may want to keep your hands a little further in front and not drop down so far to put less strain on your shoulders. Now Sharmi also is going to show you a modified push-up, which again can reduce the strain on your upper body, allow you to get better conditioned without reducing the risk of injury to your shoulders. So from her knees, she's keeping her core engaged, dropping down with the shoulders as far as she feels comfortable, and then elevating from that position. Always maintaining a straight spine. Well done.
Thank you.
2 more things that you can do, again with some household objects. If you're not fortunate enough to have dumbbells, which are hard to come by at this time, you can use cans of weights or water bottles. What we would do is just stand, arms straight. From that position, you want to bend your elbows, bringing them up towards your shoulders as far as you feel comfortable. There should be no pain in your elbow as you rise. And then slowly disengage as you come down. Rise and extend. I suggest a safe number of sets and reps would be 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps with a weight that you feel comfortable doing so. If you feel like you're overly strained with that, I would either reduce the weight or reduce the reps. And that way you can reduce your risk of injury. Another exercise to work the opposite side of the arm from the biceps would be your triceps. A natural way of doing that would be to extend your arm directly above, assuming your shoulder is healthy and no injury. From there, you want to drop your elbow down to roughly 90 degrees and then return to an overhead position. Again, repeating 3 sets of 15 reps, like so.
Hey, Mark, if I don't have the shoulder range to do this, can you tell me a modification?
Yes, absolutely. So you don't have to reach overhead, again, especially if you have a history of shoulder pain or injury. What you can do is a modified version. Bend at the waist, keep your core engaged, and then from there, you want to bring your elbows up and back, and then extend the elbows straight, and then return to roughly 90 degrees. And extend and return. All exercises should be done slow and steady and with a comfortable level of weight so you don't feel extra strain on your joints.
I have to say the cans are fairly light, but if you can use a gallon of water or maybe just a water bottle, these days the drinking water bottles are fairly heavy, especially the metal ones. Those actually work great. So thank you, Mark.
Good job, Sharmi.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to lower extremities. So we're going to just start with some basic hip openers, because all of us are sitting, working, watching TV, you know, there's a lot of sitting involved these days, so it's always better to move. So we're just going to start with some dynamic warm-ups, and then we go on to some heel raises. So go up on your toes and come down nice and slow. This exercise needs to be done slowly. You cannot haste it because then you're kind of not serving the purpose of the exercise. So you need to go up and come down slowly. You're engaging your calves, hamstrings, and your glutes. Next, we're going to move on to squats.
My favorite.
So I'm going to give some tips and pointers on squats while Mark actually demos it. We're going to start with chair squats because it's actually easier to understand and comprehend on how the body mechanics should work. So this chair is a little bit low for Mark, so he's adjusting his body posture accordingly. He's at the edge of the chair with his feet apart and knees shoulder width apart. You don't want to be too close, you don't want to be too wide, but the feet have to be pointing straight. Now he's going to lean forward, get his butt up first, and straight lock his hips. Go back down the same way you came up. Now to make this harder, you can just do a touch instead of sitting all the way. So go ahead, Mark, can you show me some of those? Let's do maybe one more. So you lock your hips, you go back down, and you lock your hips, and that's good. So squats are very easy to do. They actually benefit you in multiple ways. And if you do it at a fast pace, they give you some cardio workout as well. So I would highly recommend doing squats. Next would be lunges, which is a level above squats. Lunges are a little bit tricky, so I'm going to demo it and give you some tips on how to do this. So a regular lunge would be lunging forward and dropping this hip down. What you do not want to do is go forward with this knee. So you want to bring this hip straight down. The minute this hip is down, this knee will automatically fall straight. Again, lunges are very good. You can do a reverse lunge, or you could do a forward lunge. You can alternate. You can make this harder by just standing on one leg. So it gives you a single leg feel to it as well. But the goal of the lunge is this knee always has to be straight down. It cannot be forward or back. Back, it never happens, but this happens a lot. You will come back with knee pain if you keep doing this for a while. Of course, it won't happen with 10 reps. All right. Now we're going to move on to some core workout. So Mark is going to demo the boat pose, which is for your core. This is hard to actually work out, demo, and talk. So go ahead, Mark, get into your boat pose for me. So you want to breathe this whole time. So what Mark is doing is he's holding a still pose, and what you can do is modify it into a crunch. But if you have neck issues, you just want to stick to that. Mark, get your chest up a little bit more. There we go. So this is working on your upper and lower abs. The next I would demo is a Russian twist. So that's a progression from the boat, from the crunch, to something different. So you are maintaining the boat pose, and all you're doing is working on your obliques and your upper abs. So you're maintaining this. You cannot be here. You cannot be here, because then it's kind of not solving the purpose. So you have to be in a V, and then you go from side to side. Okay.
And
That,
deep breath.
yes, which I am doing under the mask. Okay, I think that was our series of upper and lower body exercises. Now we're going to move on to some postural stuff. We are going to focus on preventing some carpal tunnel issues that Mark is seeing a lot more these days. So he's going to actually recommend or show us some stretches to avoid and prevent those.
So kind of going back full circle to the ergonomics, if you combine those in conjunction with carpal tunnel stretches, you go a long ways to reducing the repetitive strain on your wrists, forearms, and elbows. So just some basic carpal tunnel stretches that if you incorporate into your everyday work routine will really help you to avoid those issues. The first is a basic wrist forearm stretch. For a common stretch, you would elevate to roughly 90 degrees, extending the elbow, allow your wrist to drop naturally, and then from there use your opposite hand to depress into a flex position as far as you feel comfortable. It should be a light, sustained stretch for up to 20 to 30 seconds. If you ever feel an increase in pain in your elbow or forearm or wrist, I would suggest that you lighten the stretch until you feel comfortable. The opposite direction would be, again, to extend the arm, let your wrist drop naturally, and then from your fingertips, pull until you get a comfortable stretch through your flexor muscles of the forearm. Hold for, again, 20 to 30 seconds. And then generally you would repeat that 2 to 3 times in a sitting, and then up to 3 to 5 times throughout your workday. Another good stretch is called a spider stretch, specifically geared to loosen up the tendons and the nerve in the carpal tunnel. You would just bring your fingers together, extend down into a reverse prayer stretch, stretch your fingers out wide, and press as far as you feel comfortable. You would hold for 20 to 30 seconds, bring your fingers back together to relax, and then extend again. This is going to stretch the fascia between your carpal bones in your hand and loosen the muscle, increase circulation, and also reduce stress from carpal tunnel. For that, the last one would be a supination stretch, because most of the time on the keyboard, we're in a pronated position that tightens the muscles in your forearm. So periodically, every roughly 20 minutes, you want to go into supination, which is palm up, and then do an additional stretch, grabbing from underneath the wrist, and then rotate slightly till you feel a light stretch. Hold for 20 seconds, and then relax. And that will reduce the strain and the tightness that you feel in your forearms from typing all day. If you do those 3 to 4 stretches every day, 3 to 5 times throughout your workday, you'll likely feel a lot less strain on your arms.
Mark, does the stretch have to be with the elbow and the shoulder straight, or can we modify it?
I'm glad you asked. It can be modified. So again, if there's a shoulder issue that you're trying to avoid, what you could do is naturally let your arms relax, shoulders straight and back, and then in that 90-degree posture, you would still do the exact same stretch, again going as far as you can until you get a comfortable pull and hold. It may not be quite as deep a stretch as for it, but it will still be very effective.
Awesome.
And minimize strain on your shoulder.
Awesome, thank you. Continuing with the postural stretches, we're going to go on to some lower body and upper trap stretch. We're going to actually use the chair for these stretches. Now these stretches can be done post-workout, during the day, in between meetings, during lunch, any time of the day. I would highly recommend doing these stretches whenever you can. In each stretch, you need to at least hold for 25 to 30 seconds to actually get the max benefit, and maybe 5 to 10 reps, depending on, of course, how much time you have. But if you want to do like 3 stretches, make sure you're holding them for at least 30 seconds, again, to get maximum benefit. Again, highly recommend these stretches. We're going to demo them right now. So the first one is the upper trap stretch. You want to sit on a chair that does not have an armrest. Okay, so sit up straight, and you're going to hold on to the base of the chair. Make sure your shoulder is not lagging forward, whereas your chest is open. Your opposite hand comes to the opposite ear, spine completely straight, nose pointing straight, and then you pull. And you hold it, and again, you're holding each stretch for at least 30 seconds. We are obviously not doing it full 30 seconds for the benefit of time, but for you to get maximum benefit, this is what you need to do. Let's do the other side too. Again, chest has to be open, so your hand is a little bit back. Opposite ear, spine straight, and pull. I guarantee you all of you are going to feel great after the stretch. Not during, but after. And come back. Okay, next we're going to do a seated hamstring stretch. We're going to do this on the chair. So all you're doing is going to the edge of the chair, have your knee completely straight, toes pointing towards your nose, and all you're doing is leaning forward with a straight spine. You don't want to slouch, you want to go straight spine down. All right, can you touch your toes?
Luckily, yes.
Okay, I can too. Maybe I'm all stretched out right now. Again, you want to hold this for at least 30 seconds. Come back straight up. Let's try the other side. Knee completely straight, toes to nose, leaning forward. And one side will always be tighter than the other.
I know what side mine is.
It just depends on which side you favor and which side you don't. And come back up. Next we have the seated figure of 4. So you're going to sit up straight again. Your foot has to be a little bit above the knee. Make sure it's not on the knee, so it's not jamming the knee joint itself. And then all you're going to do is sit up straight and lean forward. And you're going to hold this stretch again, 20 to 30 seconds. Go as far as you can. A lot of people will have some hip restrictions, so don't push it. If it doesn't feel good, back off. You know your body better than we do. Go ahead and switch sides. I'm just going to show you how to do this stretch also in standing, while Mark is going to continue doing this in sitting. So the same thing, get your foot above the knee, and all you're doing is leaning forward. In case you don't have a chair to sit on, this is a very easy stretch. You can hold on to something. You don't have to work on your balance while you're doing the stretch. This is not a balancing exercise. You hold it and then come out of it. Okay, I think we've covered all our basic stretches.
I think so. Hopefully we've helped some people today.
I think so. And now I think we're open for some questions.
Yes. These are great tips. You did mention how often we should stretch, but should I only stretch while I'm working from home?
No, I think stretching is very important for you. I think it should be a part of your lifestyle. Stretching twice a day is very important. Now, if you're just focused on upper, that's probably not a good thing. If you're just focused on lower, that's definitely not a good thing. You have to combine the stretches and see what works for you and what makes you feel good. And I think it has to become a part of your daily lifestyle. What do you think?
I think more than ever in this stay-at-home environment, it's very important to incorporate stretching into your everyday life. We're a little bit more sedentary, not getting outdoors as much as we used to. So we need to make sure that we're keeping our bodies moving and healthy throughout the day.
I agree.
I'm so used to going to the gym, and while I'm there, I get a lot of form correction. Since the gyms are closed, what do you recommend that I do to make sure that I'm in proper form?
So I think the mirror is your best friend right now, because I don't think anybody will be able to tell you as much as the mirror tells you. So it's important to see if you can actually get a full-length mirror to exercise in front of. I know I do that. In fact, I felt a little lost right now because I didn't have the mirror in front of me, because it does give me feedback. It helps me correct my posture. It helps me figure out how I need to do things differently. Or sometimes working out with friends and having the camera focus on you so you can actually see yourself. And I don't know if you guys are open to friends giving you tips on correction, but that's always a good idea too. And working out together is definitely more fun than working out alone. I will definitely tell you that by experience. So
it's a great family activity. Right now we're all at home together in our bubbles. Use each other as a reference, and online there's a lot of tips like videos like this that you can find the form, and then have your family member make sure you're doing it correctly so you don't injure yourself.
What should I do if I'm unable to do the modified stretches? Do I have to talk to my doctor before I go to your clinic?
So if there is anything that is causing pain, I would say please don't do it. Stop, see your doctor, or come see us. I think all our information should be there online. If not, I will definitely mention our website before we are done. But please come see us. We'll be able to help you with any kind of aches and pains that you're having, and to improve your overall functionality and improve your overall health. I mean, that's what we are here for. The point of this video was to educate as much as possible, but of course, everything is not possible to do over video. So yes, for expert advice and tips, please come see us. That'll be great.
Absolutely.
Do they need a referral?
Some do, some don't, so please give us a call. I think that'll be the best way to find out if you need a referral. But most insurances, we do not need a referral as of now.
Okay, great. Well, this concludes our program. Thank you, Sharmi. Thank you, Mark. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. The entire broadcast of this evening's event will be available on Facebook later this evening. We look forward to hosting more Facebook Live events in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.